Stay. Welcome back to another episode of Deep Down Under. I am currently in Auckland, New Zealand, the land of the big snapper and kingfish. Bit of a background, my girlfriend was born and raised in New Zealand, so she wanted to come back to New Zealand for a month and spend Christmas and New Year's with her family and friends, and she invited me. It's pretty hard to say no. We all know that the fishing and spearfishing over here is pretty amazing, so I'm pretty keen to get stuck into some diving and some fishing over here. Unfortunately, the weather has been terrible since we got over here. It's rained basically every single day. We've been over here for a bit over a week. We've had one sunny day out of the 9 days that we've been here. Anyways, I'm going to roll some clips here of how I packed my gear. It's the first time I've ever travelled overseas with it. And then basically jump straight into a dive. Let's go. Alright, so before I flew to New Zealand, I popped into the Sydney Adreno store. And while I was there, I saw Craig. Craig was nice enough to actually lend me his sport tube. I was thinking about buying one, but yeah, this was a good opportunity to actually give it a test to see if I actually liked it. And it kind of surprised me. Everything fit in there. I had to use my blow-up float. Obviously, the other floats just won't fit in there unless you fold it up. And this was the perfect width to fit your fins, and I was confident enough to throw my carbons in there, and they went through the airport perfectly fine. Basically, I found the best way of packing it was to just jam everything in, but just jam it neatly. And yeah, didn't really have an issue. Getting it through the airport was smooth sailing. The hardest thing that I found was once I got there and got off the plane and went to jump in a taxi, just no taxi would take me. They just couldn't fit it in there. So I ended up having to split the gear in half. And once I split it in half, I convinced the taxi driver to let me jam it in the front seat. And once we got it in the front seat, we put our luggage bags in the boot and we were good to go. So I'm lucky that my girlfriend's dad is a bit of a scuba diver, so I was able to borrow his weight belt because obviously I didn't fly over with that. It was about a week of rain before a sunny day came out, so I took the opportunity, chucked everything in the car and travelled an hour and a half north. The plan was to go for a quick dive and hopefully be able to get a few fish to put on the dinner table that night. So thanks to all the rain that New Zealand copped over the last week, it made visibility pretty poor. There's a few red moki here floating around. I think that's what the New Zealanders call them. I think I saw about 30 of these fish in the actual dive, and I knew that they were easy picking, so I didn't want to target or take them. I wanted to try and get a snapper or something decent. I basically just started working over the ledges, and I think it was the third ledge that I went over. There was two snapper sitting on the other side, and they spotted me real fast. The camera doesn't really pick it up here, but one of them was probably about 1 kilo, so would have been a nice little panty. The other one was pretty small. I was just excited to see my first wild snapper over in New Zealand, to be honest. I thought I had the camera recording, but I didn't. Got a nice shot off on this little kahawai, which we call in Australia Australian salmon. So I already had a fish on the board pretty early on, which was a good start. So while I was actually out in the open, I had this 3 to 4 kilogram snapper swim underneath me. And again, it's pretty hard to see. It stayed pretty close to the rock there, but I basically just paused. I didn't know what to do. It slowly kicked on, and I basically went down hoping that I could get it on the other side of the rock, but I'm not sure where he escaped from, but unfortunately I didn't get the opportunity to have a shot at him. I gathered some kinna here, which we call sea urchins back in Australia. This is new to me. I've learnt this from just watching YouTube videos, really. A lot of Kiwis do it. They just crush up the kinna and use it as burley. Snapper love it, supposedly. And funnily enough, about probably an hour later, I went back to it and there were two little snappers sitting on it, but they weren't big enough to shoot. Funny little lesson though, crush the sea urchins with a rock behind it. It works a lot better than sand. And and find a big rock, not a little girly rock that I used. The plan was to just basically go over every ledge slowly and see if there was a snapper on the other side. We don't get a lot of opportunity with snapper in Sydney, so I wanted to focus my style of spearfishing on this sort of approach, and basically learn a lot of that from YouTubers like Ollie Craig and Luke Potts. Yeah, I believe Ollie and Luke are locals to Auckland, or at least somewhere in New Zealand, and some of the fish that they've shot is just phenomenal, and the way that they hunt is real stealthy when it comes to snapper over here. Well, the end of the dive was coming close, and times are getting tough when you're taking shots at Luderick, so you can see with this shot I actually shoot a bit low. I'm thinking that my spear is just overpowered, because you can see this shot 2 weeks ago in Sydney that I take, and you can just see the spear come straight out and down. So I believe that possibly my 16mm rubbers are overpowering it. I need to go down a notch on the gun. This particular shot was just an easy shot that I should have made. You know, that drummer's only 2 meters away, and it just went completely underneath it. So my dive watch said that the water was 18 degrees. It's mid-December here in New Zealand, and the dive was quite tough, to be honest, with the poor visibility. I talked myself out of shooting a red moki, but then at the end of the dive, after 4 hours, all I had was that one little kahawai, so I decided to take a decent size red moki here. I always want to try one anyway while I was over here, so that was enough to put dinner on the table and for me to try it, but I definitely won't be taking one again, that's for sure. Yeah, I felt kind of bad taking this humble red moki, but I gutted it then and there, and I like to do that just to give back to the ocean and let all the other fish feed on it. At least they can grow a little bit bigger. So after that dive, I jumped back in the car and drove over to Goat Island. Goat Island is a protected reserve, about an hour and a half north of Auckland, and I basically jumped in there and swam around with all the snapper. They obviously know that they're pretty safe there, so they're not afraid of you, that's for sure. I'm just going to roll some clips here of the footage that I got.
How awesome is that? Not too many places in the world you could swim around snapper like that. They just swim straight up to you. I think I've swum over 100 meters and they've just followed me. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool experience. I really just didn't want to get out of the water just playing with them. It was pretty exciting. But yeah, made my way back eventually and filleted the fish and made some chicken wraps for everyone for dinner. The red mochi actually went pretty good, but yeah, I don't like cutting up bunions, obviously. Alright, thanks for tuning in, guys, to another episode of Deep Down Under. I have realised with this YouTube business that it is hard to actually make videos and it takes a lot of time. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time and I will do my best to put out as many videos as I can. What I would appreciate is if you did like and subscribe, because there's no point me making these videos if there's no one really interested and there's only a few people that are watching and tuning in. So if you like what you're watching, please like and subscribe, and I'll continue to make the videos. Until the next dive, guys, stay safe out there, and I'll catch you on the next one. Come join me next episode where we get stuck into some snapper fishing, and then I get pulled around by some big New Zealand kingfish.
Oh, how good's this?